Testing. get down. I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written.
I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down. I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down. I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes.
I get down.
FormAWin for over 4 months
Part
now.
of the FormAWin community for a couple months now.
I just got my first internship.
Just landed my first internship.
Biggest thing I want you guys to do is take one thing away from today and make sure you implement it, change your life.
100% directly resulted in me getting an internship offer.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome in. This is going to be an awesome day. This is going to be an awesome webinar. I hope everybody's having an awesome week so far. We're just getting it kicked off. I see some engagement in the chat already. That's awesome. I want to make sure you guys stay engaged. We're going to give it another moment, give it another few seconds for some other people to join in and do a little quick audio check. If you can hear me in the chat, go ahead, type that in there. I want to make sure that we have full audio and we're all good to go. We're just getting it kicked off. I see some engagement. All right, it looks like we are in business. Looks like everybody's all set to go. You guys see me. And let's go on ahead and get this party started. We're going to switch this side by side. Should be good to go. There we go. All right. All right, everybody. So we have a lot of information to cover today. First off, I just want to say I'm super honored to have everybody in here. This is going to be an awesome webinar. We have a lot of content. This is going to be an engaging webinar too. So if you're driving or if you're kind of multitasking, I would suggest you don't. But regardless, this is going to be here. I want you guys to listen, take some action, take some notes as we move through these slides. There's going to be a lot of information we're going over. It's going to be a lot of awesome things. And I just want to make sure you guys are just ready to rock and roll because, we're going to be doing some awesome stuff in FormAWin, but I want to make sure you guys are also doing some awesome stuff in your lives as well. That's what this is about. This is truly about just changing your life, dominating, and make the most of it. And that's really what it means. That's the biggest thing for you guys to think about when you guys go through your engineering career. I want you guys to think about it completely differently. Don't treat this as just a webinar. Don't treat this as just a lesson. When you guys go to see your professors talk and you guys go and see all of different speakers, maybe at different club meetings and all of this stuff, every single one of those, I want you guys to maximize. But today, this is the day that things change for you guys, right? Everything we're doing in our career, every day we're working on a project, we're networking, we're doing something different. All of those things make us who we are and change us completely, right? And every single time that we do something different or we go to one of these meetings, we should improve. The theory of improving 1% every day makes us improve 365% throughout the year, right? So I want you guys to adopt that mentality, because that's the biggest thing I can do for you guys. If you guys just show up today and you guys don't take action, you guys don't go full force, you guys don't take notes, you guys don't do everything in here, you aren't present with me, be where your feet are, put your phone on do not disturb, all of those things. And if you're not doing that, then there's not too much we can do for you. But at the same time, if you're just listening, I promise there's going to be some things in your life right now that are going to change. So without further ado, again, we have some awesome stuff. We have Asal coming later as a guest speaker, but right now we're going to kind of get into the whole presentation that we have here. There's going to be some awesome things we're covering. This is our FormAWin live. This is the secrets to networking, and we're going to go over everything super in depth. I haven't revealed this stuff publicly before, so you guys should really just take everything I teach you right now, apply it, and just go crazy with it, because it's going to be really intensive. This isn't just, again, me talking. There's going to be some action you guys are taking. There's going to be some awesome things you guys are going to be performing. There's going to be some awesome lessons in here, but again, take notes, get ready, let's get into it. So without further ado, welcome. We're going to talk about me and my story for sure, just starting off. But again, sincerely welcome you guys over here, because every time we do something in FormAWin, it's to change your guys' life. It's not something that's just mediocre. It's not something basic. I put my heart and soul into this. So I want you guys to take that full force and go and do this. So let's go on and keep going here. So this is a 2-day networking intensive. So today we're going to go super hardcore with a lot of modules, a lot of lessons. Tomorrow we're going to finish up, and each day we're having some guest speakers. So it's an awesome, really cool coordinated event. And just make sure you guys share this with your friends. If anybody else is available, there's posts on LinkedIn about this, but this is going to be a really radical experience. So today, again, we already talked a little bit about this, but again, treat this as the day that, if you're struggling with something, write that down on a piece of paper. You should always have notes available no matter what you're doing. Write it down on a piece of paper. And then when you guys really look at that and you guys are able to take that and apply that and go out with an action plan, after today, I want you guys to debrief, right? Look at your notes, see what's going on, and debrief from there, because that's the biggest thing that's going to help you guys change and grow and develop. If you guys don't debrief after things like this today and tomorrow, then again, you're not really making the most of the event. You guys should debrief after work every day, after a school day, after everything you guys are doing, debrief. That way you can make the most of the day and the situation, because time is the one resource that we can't get back, right? So I just want you guys to process that, think about that. And then as we talk about me a little bit, we're going to get into some details about FormAWin and who we are and what we do. But right now I'm an engineer. I work at Lockheed Martin. You guys can see on my LinkedIn all the past experiences that I've had, but specifically in hiring and recruiting, I've done that through Lockheed as well as Siemens Energy. At Siemens Energy, I did one-on-one interviews and I managed the whole process. It was awesome, super rewarding. And, I learned a lot from that, obviously. The whole vision with FormAWin was to make a community and to make a group of people who wanted to treat their careers a little bit different than, your average club goer, or just people that go to school and they want to do good, but at the same time, not all of their actions reflect them living the best life and being in the top 1%. And all that means to us is just trying to be better 99% of the day, and just trying to be better every single day, because that's going to make you better than most of the majority of the population. Because a lot of people try to get better once a week, maybe, if that. Right. But if we're focused on improving, dominating, and growing every day, that's just going to change your life completely. So that's the vision here, aside from making a community and helping you guys get from point A to point B, that's what FormAWin is all about. So again, I want you guys to stay super active in here and go crazy. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be really awesome. So without further ado, let's go on and keep going in here. We're going to do an introduction exercise. Okay. So this is going to be really important. We're going to have some actions and some homework for you guys. Again, you guys can take it now and do it now. I'm going to do some of it with you because I'm not a theory teacher. I'm an applicant teacher. And what that means is that through all of these different exercises and things that we go through, I've done them in the past, but I'm going to do them with you live now as well. So that's where really all the big changes come in. Again, this is not just me preaching. This is not just me going to be teaching the whole day. This is going to be me really just showing you guys everything. And that's the biggest thing I want to do for you guys. I want to show you guys, do it, improve, and grow. And then that's going to be what's going to change. This is not just a webinar. This is going to be an intensive. So let's get into it. So for the introduction exercise, I want you guys to send 5 gratitude messages now. Okay. So this is a really big deal. You know, this is something some of my coaches and some of my mentors have me do. If you guys spread positivity into the world, it's only going to go crazy and go so far. So this could be super simple. This could be simple as you guys just texting some of your family and saying, hey, you know, I haven't texted you in a little bit. I'm really appreciative of you. I'm really grateful that you're in my life. Whatever the case is, when we express gratitude and we go out and we do these things, it's just going to put positive banks into the world. And when we put positive banks into the world, that's only going to reap into our life, right? Because we want to make the world a better place. We want to impact the world. We want to change the world. We want to do all of these great things. And the way we're going to do that is by spreading positivity. So maybe this is to a coworker, maybe this is to a peer, maybe this is someone that you know you kind of had on your mind for a little bit, and you know maybe you're mad at them or something like that, or maybe you've been meaning to text them, right? This is the time to text them. So I want you guys to take a few moments. I'm going to give you guys a few moments. I'm going to do the same thing here. We're going to pause and we're going to just go ahead and send some of these gratitude messages. So I'm going to do it at the same time. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to go ahead and do that. Looks like we're going to have a smaller audience here today. So this is going to be really intensive with you guys. Again, I want to make sure you guys' lives are changing and we just really get into it. All right, cool. All right, I just sent my first one. I just sent my second one. All right. I just sent my next one. I have 2 more to do. All right. Okay, I just sent my last one. So that should be enough time for you guys to do so as well. And then I'm going to wait for another moment, give you guys another second, and then that way I'll get another mic check. Make sure you guys are active in the chat. Stay active this whole time, right? If you guys are hearing some things, put it in the chat. If you guys are hearing some good notes, if you guys are hearing some good reflections, if you're if you're already getting a positive response back from whoever it is that you texted, then let's go on ahead and make sure that we post that in the chat too, right? The biggest thing here today, guys, again, I want to make sure that you guys are getting a big, giant positive out of this event too. This is not just about, you know, learning, and these actions, a lot of these actions we're going to do today are going to result in a positive and immediate feedback into our lives. So I want to make sure that we're fully aware of that and we're really ready to go, because it's just really cool to be able to do something and see some immediate feedback. So again, just give me a mic check in the chat. I want to make sure that we're all ready and active and we all hear me good to go, because then we're going to get rocking and cruising. I'm going to give you guys a whole overview and we're going to be getting started here. I see you guys active. I love it. Good to see you, brother. Yep. I love it. I love it. I love it. Making sure you guys can still hear me, all set, all good to go. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for the engagement there. That's the best thing. Let's go on ahead and keep rocking and cruising. So today we're covering a lot of stuff. Okay, guys. So bear with me as we work through this. We just did our intro exercise. So super cool, super awesome. Then we're going to get into my story. So stay tuned for this. We're going to go ahead and blitz through that. I'm going to give you guys a background of who I am, you know, my journey, what I've been through. I've done some talks at some schools before, so this is going to correlate into that. And then we're going to get into some really hardcore module 1 lessons. So the 5 C's of networking, we're going to cover that, how opportunity actually works, LinkedIn domination, outreach and messaging scripts, the relationship ladder, your step-by-step system, networking Excel sheet, your career CRM, events, career fairs, conferences, follow-up mastery, and then your 30-day networking sprint. Again, there's a lot to cover. We're going to get as far as we can today, then we're going to finish up the rest tomorrow on top of some super awesome, exciting benefits and different things just for showing up here, guys, and staying engaged. The number one person engaged in here is going to get some awesome stuff. So just make sure you're staying active and ready for action there. So really appreciate you guys. Let's go ahead and start this lesson. So again, we covered some of this stuff, but just to kind of reiterate what you can expect tonight, this is not going to be a passive sit here, watch it and relax. This is going to be active. This is going to be the real deal of you guys coming in here and taking action and doing things and leveling up. Because when we do that, again, that's when real change immediately starts. You're going to get some things to do today, but then also a lot to do kind of moving forward, right? I know we have some of our clients in here as well. So this is going to apply to some lessons we're teaching you and some check-ins we're doing in here, but then also for everybody else watching, wherever you're at in your career journey, you're going to be able to apply things today, tomorrow, and then a few weeks and months down the road. So make sure you're ready for that. Every module has actions, and obviously your camera can be off here. This is a live stream, but your effort cannot be. Make sure your effort is here, and I can gauge and measure effort by your actions and chat effort. So that's the biggest thing. Okay, guys, make sure you have your phone ready, and then make sure LinkedIn is ready for you as well. You'll be sending messages, updates, outreaches on the spot. Now show up fully, take these actions, trust the process. Let's get started. So my story, module 1. So this is going to be pretty cool. We're going to kind of break it down and go through a lot of different things I worked on, some different networking situations I've been a part of. But my journey started when I was a baby. Obviously, I was born, and then from there, I moved to Key West. I lived on a boat for a good bit. Super awesome, super cool. And then I moved up to Orlando. That's where my engineering journey really started. That's where I started getting into an engineering magnet middle school. I went to Millway Middle School. It was an awesome time. We did a whole project base in there as well. That's when I really first got introduced to stuff. And then once I got into high school, I went to an engineering magnet high school that happened to be Lyman High School in Orlando, Florida. Again, super cool, super awesome. You guys can see this project here. This is a water bottle rocket. So that was one of my first projects there. It was, super cool. In there, you probably can't see it, but it says Spiffy Industries. So that was my first company. And then from there, I did an Embry-Riddle summer camp where they toured us around the whole facility. They had us fly planes. It was super awesome and super cool. That's where I got a real deep dive in engineering, where I first saw some big facilities, some different labs and different things that they work on. So that was an awesome experience as well. And again, I got to fly a plane there until, the real pilot took over before we crashed. So that was fun. That was super cool. I played football. I had an internship in high school as well at Atkins. It was an awesome company. It was a 4-week internship. So it was pretty basic, but at the same time, I learned a lot, got my feet wet, and got my resume started early. And I was co-president of Mu Alpha Theta. That was an awesome time as well. Sometimes I felt like the main president. I'm sure some of us can relate to that. And then in my senior year, we did a senior design project, as some of you may do in your senior designs for, college or whatever the case is. Mine happened to be a programmable phone case. So the biggest thing to kind of take through my high school career, because we're about to get into college, is all this time I'm building up my social skills, leadership skills, and just really developing all these things. That way I can get into college and go get ready for action. All of these things, I was networking, and all these connections I was able to utilize and benefit in college as well. So I want to make sure you guys kind of do that in every situation. If you guys need to look back at some previous things that you've done, some previous situations, that's going to work as well, because that's the biggest thing for you guys to take into effect and see that your whole life, every connection, every person you've talked to is going to be beneficial to you. It's not just about one connection or tomorrow or whatever the case is. It's about managing all the connections and network that you currently have. So make sure you guys take that. But the next thing here is going to be getting into college. So remember this red X a little bit for later, but this one starting in the top left here. Second I got into college, I joined AIAA. I worked on a project there, it was for hovercrafts. And then the semester after that, so that was my second semester, I became a lead for that project. And then the semester after that, in summer, I became the vice president. So I was vice president my freshman year. And then that's also when I started my first internship. This was at Lockheed. I worked on the F-35 EOS. It was an awesome program. Feel free to do some research there to get more information about it. It was super cool. And, I loved every second of it, but it wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then at UCF, the college I went to, there was a program called Lead Scholars. So that's where I learned a lot about leadership. That's where I learned about developing as a person. And then from there, we just kind of grew, and then we get to this red X in a moment. But I worked at UFIT, and I recommend you guys, if you're looking for, some short cash or whatever the case is, get a part-time job and get it to be in sales. Sales is the number one most underrated skill in lots of these situations. So if you guys have some sales skills, it's going to benefit you guys tenfold. So make sure you guys get some experience there. If you have time, if you have the opportunity, just go out and go do that, because that changed my life. And then one of the hobbies that I have up here are escape rooms. I love escape rooms. I've done a lot, as you can probably tell by that image there. And then something else I did was NASA L-Space Academy. It was a super awesome academy. I loved every second of it. It's NASA proposal writing and evaluation experience. That's what I did specifically. And then we'll kind of move on to this next slide here, where COVID happened. So this was the time when, this was in between there, as you kind of saw in the last chart. And then during COVID, I actually got a call from Lockheed, and they said, "Hey, Michael, we're going to let you go." So, I got fired. I got fired on the spot there. It was kind of during the COVID time, so it could have been for that. But at the same time, they told me it was because of my performance. So it was a good learning opportunity, and I wasn't performing. So, I kind of deserved that situation. So what's next, right? After that, I was stressing out, trying to figure out what I'm doing next. I was thinking, okay, should I go for a master's degree to buy myself some more time? Should I kind of, dive deep into that, or should I go into research, right? That'll be a good resume booster. Maybe I can get my career back up and running from just doing that. Or am I going to be stuck at UFIT forever? I wasn't too sure what the deal was. Donahair, that was going to be an awesome place for me to go. It was going to be a contracting company. I was going to work there. And then my strategy was, work as an assembler. And then from there, keep growing. And as I get closer to graduation, I was going to move up by doing a great job. And then they were going to refer me into an engineering position. That was my game plan. I was just trying to figure out what's going on, what's next here, right? So then I got a phone call. All right. I was working out at the time. I got a phone call mid gym set. And then, I was like, okay, well, what's this phone number? Then I got the call. I picked it up. I said, okay, hey, how's it going? Who is this? And it happened to be someone from Lockheed. And they said, oh, hey, Michael, yeah, we're looking at you for this position. I dropped everything. I ran out of the gym, and then from there, that just led to me getting to my next position. I got my foot back in the company. And, I aced the interview. I aced all the follow-up sets. I did everything properly next. So it was an awesome experience. And that's kind of where we talk about this here. This is the resume that got me hired. So if you have a basic resume, potentially throw that out of the garbage, because this is the one that got me hired. They specifically told me, hey, we saw this resume. It was unique and different. That's why we wanted to interview you. So it just depends on, what the case is, how you portray yourself, but it has to be you, right? So this was me all over it because I wanted to be unique. I wanted to be different. So whatever that means for you, that's what I would recommend that you guys go take action on. Now, kind of getting into the next steps here. This was when I got back into an internship position. I started working at EPG, Engineering Process Group. That's where we kind of manage processes and documents for the company that each engineering division kind of works through. So it was an awesome experience. And, it was a virtual position as well. I loved it. And then this is around the time I started my senior design project. So I was working on a drone project. That was awesome. It was me and my buddy working in it, a team of 8 people. It was primarily us working it. Again, I'm sure you guys can kind of see the trend there, but I'm sure you guys relate to that. Another position I had at the same time was I was working at Siemens Energy. I was working in Bibrella, and this was a startup initiative at Siemens Energy. It was super cool. It was connecting manufacturers to different processes and different things that they needed. So we were managing the whole system, making a startup, developing it, and it was awesome. It was me and my managers and a few other interns. So it was a great, awesome learning experience, and I loved every second of it. And then this was our first in-person meetup for Lockheed. That was awesome as well. And then after that, I graduated. Yay, we did it. It was awesome. We graduated. Yes. But wait, what about the full-time offer, right? What was I going to do? Because, I had the full-time offer, but I was working at 2 companies at once. So was I going to go work at Siemens? Was I going to work at Lockheed? Well, here's what happened, guys. So I got another call. Okay. And I had to make some decisions. So I got a call from Lockheed, and they said, hey, how are you working at Siemens Energy and Lockheed at the same time? I had applied to some positions, and then the position I applied to, that manager knew my manager. And then she called me and said, hey, how are you working at both of these? And, my heart dropped. I had cleared it because these 2 positions, I was contractors for both of them, not direct employees. So I cleared it with the contracting company. So that was very interesting, right? Because I was able to clear that, and, it was cool, but they still called. They said, hey, how is this happening? So I was like, well, it's okay. And, they made me submit something to make sure it was cool. It wound up not being an issue, but I got an offer within 24 hours. And not only did I get a full-time offer, I got a full-time offer and an offer to be an intern for the remainder of the year. So they swooped me up. It was awesome. It was really cool. And we'll touch on that briefly here. That's not the point of the lesson. But, I've been working there for a little bit. You guys can see on my LinkedIn, all the descriptions and all the things that I do. I've loved every second of it. It's been great. And that's what led me to start FormAWin too. There's been lots of different situations where FormAWin was created, such as, me mentoring a lot of students in college and high school all throughout the cases, and then me running some different programs. Like I ran the mentoring program at Lockheed for some university students. I loved it, but at the same time, I wanted to do things my own way and not be told how to organize it, because I knew what I could provide can get students results a lot quicker than, your average typical taking it easy, fun, and just for the merit of it. I wanted to make a real program, a real service, and a real deal area where students can go in and accomplish their goals. So this has been my journey so far, and that's where we're at now, and that's where we're here today. So this is going to be your exercise here, guys. So I want you guys to take this, and this is going to be really important as well, because your story is important. Your story is real, and you never know when you're going to really need to use your story or portray it. And I promise, guys, that this is going to be the difference in everything that you're doing, because once you guys define your story, you start remembering it, and then you start selling it in every situation that you have, it's going to make a big difference. And I promise you might not have your story labeled out in great detail. And for me and what we just went through, there's a lot more to cover, right? And, that's just scratching the surface for sure. But for the essence of time, I just wanted to make something kind of holistic that we can just run through, blitz through, and then go from there. Now, for you guys, you might not have your story defined yet, right? I'd highly recommend getting an e-portfolio. That's going to be one thing for sure. But for you guys and your stories, I want you guys to develop these stories. I want you to say, okay, where'd you start, what you want, and why you're here tonight. So this is for you guys to do an exercise. Maybe you've been thinking a little bit throughout your time here. I'm going to give you guys a few moments while I'm still talking and still going over some of this. I want you to start listing out, okay, in 2018, I was here. In 2019, 2020, 2021, and just start listing some stuff. That way you can start developing the mindset of like, okay, I've done all of these projects. I've had all these experiences. They've all been great. They've all been awesome. But now I need to start like updating my LinkedIn to reflect that. I need to start developing an e-portfolio to reflect that. That way, when someone looks at you and you have something that's developed and you already know it in your head because you spent some time writing it all down, developing this portfolio and doing all this stuff, then your life becomes much more enriched and full, instead of you talking with someone and them saying, well, hey, what do you do? Tell me your story. And you don't really have too much of a story other than you were stressed out about the exam yesterday and you're looking for an internship. That might be all that you're thinking about. That might be all that you have to talk about. But if you did your homework on your life and developed your story and your portfolio, then you have so much more ready for action, aside from just your resume too, right? Because you're more than just a resume. You're more than just a number. Your story, your life, it's unique, and it can inspire and motivate a lot of people in the world. So I want you guys to make sure you document that, both for engineering purposes, mentoring purposes, and just everything else in life. So start doing that a little bit as we're moving through some of these calls here and as we're moving through some of these slides. That's one thing, again, what you want, and then really reflecting now for the moment. A lot of people wrote down a lot of reasons for why they wanted to show up to this webinar, why they wanted to tune in. And a lot of it was learning how to get their first job, getting a new perspective on networking. So I want you guys to really reflect and figure out why you're here tonight and what you want to learn, right? So I want you guys to take a moment, do that, reflect on that, write some of that stuff down. And, this is one of the exercises as well. If you guys are staying active, you guys are staying really ready for action, this is when some of this stuff is going to pay off for sure. All right. We're going to move into the next set of slides here in a moment. That's just an exercise. Feel free to fill that out a lot more in depth later. But now we're going to get into some real lessons. So we talked a little bit about who I am, what I've done in the past, some of my experience, but now we're going to get into some real practical tips. So I hope you guys are ready for action. So the 5 C's of networking, okay? This is going to be super cool. This is really awesome. I learned this from one of my mentors and did my own spin on this as well. So the 5 C's: character, consistency, coachability, curiosity, and connection. Now, I want you guys to think about what comes to your mind when you start looking at these. What's going through your head as you're starting to look at these? That's probably the area that you're either strongest at, or maybe the area that you need to improve on. Whatever thought came through your mind, maybe it was an experience last week that you had in an internship or an exam or a class setting or a project. Maybe there's just something kind of running through your head right now because you're not exactly where you want to be. And you're like, okay, well, now I'm reading these and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should improve in this area, right? So I just wanted to start with that, preface that, because that's probably the one thing that you need to change in your life right now to get closer to your goals. I want to make sure that you guys were aware of that, ready for that, noting that. So just make sure you're paying attention there. But we're going to go over each one of these in depth, and then we're going to give you guys a chance to kind of rank yourself. So make sure you're paying attention, make sure you're watching, and let's get started here. So character, right? Character is one of the biggest deals, right? Without character, without that foundation, none of this stuff matters. It's kind of like building a house and you have the foundation of the house and you're just like, okay, you know what? Don't worry about that. I'll work out once I graduate. I'll become a better person once I graduate. I'll get closer to God once I graduate. I'll prioritize my family once I graduate. Whatever it is, right? That's character stuff. All that stuff should come first. All that stuff needs to be the foundation of everything and, part of your weekly improvement plan. So that's what this is. Character looks like following through, being respectful, being prepared, not wasting people's time, staying humble but hungry. That's what attracts people. And if you guys hear me talk about networking and being magnetic, that's what this looks like. When you guys are more magnetic and you guys are attracting a lot of people into your life, it's probably because you have a great character. And that's something that, it's very not looked at too in depth. It's something you guys need to focus on, because I promise if you guys focus on this stuff, it's going to be really important and really fruitful in your life. You guys really need to just give this all that you got and figure out what area are you lacking in that you're not holding up to that model of integrity that you always want to hold yourself up to, improving your standard, whatever that looks like for you, right? So this can be different for a lot of different people, whatever character means to you. Typically, it just means being a better person and having a strong foundation. So identify whatever area in your foundation you need to improve on, and let's write that down and make sure that we do that, right? Take that out of today. If that's the one thing you change today, that's going to get you closer to interviews. That's going to make you a stronger networker. That's going to change your life now. And that's the biggest thing I want to do for you guys, right? So make sure you guys are taking that into action. You guys are looking at this and following through with it. Next is going to be consistency, right? So consistency is the biggest thing. Sometimes, a lot of what I like to talk about is kind of measuring our success and quantifying it and treating our career like a business. And the way that we do that is by setting up some KPIs. And the way that I like to view it is setting up KPIs in the fashion of like, okay, well, if it takes us 100 applications to apply to a job, and we say we get 3 interviews out of those applications, that's a metric. That's something we can track. So then if we have 3 interviews, how many interviews does it take to get an offer? If it takes us, 9 interviews to get an offer, then we have another metric. And if we have that metric, we can reverse engineer what it's going to take to get to our goals. But the biggest thing here is, when we measure that, that might take a certain amount of time to do. And what we need to do is stay consistent with the actions and the behaviors that it takes to produce that kind of result. Notice how I said behaviors and actions, not just focusing on the sole result of it. Those behaviors and actions are what we need to be consistent with, because those are going to be what breeds momentum and compound interest effects and all of these things that we want to work on in our life, right? And that's the biggest thing for us to focus on, consistency. Once we have a good character and we talk about consistency, then we can say, all right, let's just make sure that we're doing this. Because if you guys get an interview and you guys have felt like it's putting a lot of weight on you before, or if you guys have been in a networking situation and it's been an awesome relationship building exercise, and you guys are like, okay, this is going to be the one connection that's going to change everything, right? I've been there and I've sat on that before. And I've stopped some other things because I thought that I had that made. And, I stopped going to some events. I stopped networking. I stopped doing some mentoring calls with my mentors. And I thought, okay, cool. All right, so now I'm on to the next task. When that might not be the case. But, aside from that, all these things that we're doing consistently to produce these results, we should do regardless of the situation, whether or not we finally have our interviews, whether or not we finally find our positions, whatever the case is, right? We should always do this stuff. But the biggest thing I see is that we're not consistent for a long period of time. I'd rather us do, 1 application a day forever than 10 applications on a weekend, right? If we do 10 applications on a Sunday or something, that's theoretically better than 1 a day, because, in a week, that would be 7 versus 10. But at the same time, if we do the 1 a day for a longer period of time, that 10 might not happen 1 weekend, right? Because you might be burnt out or whatever the case is. And, this stress muscle and this consistency muscle is a muscle, and we need to build it up as, a muscle that we train everywhere else. So the biggest thing here, guys, is being consistent, whether that's 5 messages a day, weekly follow-ups, that's updating your network on your progress, staying present in conversations. All of these small actions are going to make this big dream and goal happen. So I want to make sure you guys are focused on that and you guys are paying attention to that. Now, coachability. This is another thing, right? This is something else that I like to say, something else I like to really kind of focus on and, preach about, is if you ask 100 engineers to review your resume, you're going to get 100 different pieces of advice. But who's right? Who are we going to listen to? And the biggest thing that you guys are going to really want to take out of this are looking at it from the perspective of, okay, well, who should I listen to, right? If Mary says to update your resume in this way, and then, you really want to get closer to Mary, but Bob says to update your resume in this way, and you're thinking in your head, well, I like Bob's advice better, so I'm going to do that. And then you send Bob's, version of the resume with the edits to Mary. Mary's going to see you as not being coachable and not listening. And then she's not going to want to help you. So you're going to have to range and listen to some people and make some different versions, but show them that you're coachable. That's the biggest thing here, right? Showing that you're coachable in these webinars. Like I see the chat active, and I really appreciate that, because that shows that you guys are active and you guys are listening. Posting about something like this after, showing your network, you're learning about growing and personal development, because that's something that not a lot of people focus on. Not a lot of people think about personal development. Not a lot of people focus on personal development weekly, let alone daily. Imagine if you do it daily. I'm sure you guys have talked with people, and their definition of personal development is going to their general body meeting each month, right? Or it's just something that's not even talked about. Or it's something that they, talked about briefly, like, oh yeah, I watched this YouTube video, but then they're not doing anything about it, right? So like, what are you doing to show that you're coachable, you're hungry, and you're taking action, taking notes, posting notes, sharing advice, taking action on the advice, right? All of this stuff is super important. But when we're networking specifically, taking notes, following advice quickly, updating people on what you did, being open, not defensive, asking what would you do in my position, right? All of this is super critical, guys. You need to be doing this. And if you guys show that you're coachable to people, you're going to beat a lot of others, because not a lot of people are having that perspective. And all that they're doing is focus on like, okay, let me do good in this project. Let me get an A in this class. Let me focus on this area. Let me do good in work. But let me not focus on this interpersonal dynamic of showing this leader or this person that I want to get closer to that I'm coachable. Not a lot of people focus on that mindset. And that's just a big shift to have, because if you have that shift, that's going to result in massive action. And I promise that that's resulted in lots of actions in my life, getting closer to big millionaires and big people that own big companies, just showing that you're coachable. Because a lot of people want to just go ask for things and, get close and, like they're greedy and they're selfish. But it's okay. Number one, what can you give to people? Always have a giver's heart and come from a giver's perspective, whatever value you can provide to everyone. If that's simply just changing their energy and making the state better than you found them, making them better than you found them. So if you go up to someone, they're in like a stressed out mood or something, if you can leave them better than you found them, you already beat everybody, right? So long story short here, guys, you need to show that you're coachable, and coachability is something you really need to measure. Next is curiosity, right? This is a skill in itself, and this is going to take a long time to develop. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. Maybe you think you're curious, but at the same time, does your curiosity or do your questions really provoke people, and does it really get you closer to the person you're looking to network with? Or like, how do you measure that, right? So you guys need to look at that, see the results, and then start changing some behaviors to produce a new result. So asking great questions, one, to understand someone's journey, listening actively, asking about failures, not just wins. Curious students create deeper relationships. I just did a talk at one of the schools that I went to, UCF, and I did an exercise with them. Bear with me, because you're going to see it's like not really related to engineering, but it truly is. So I did an exercise selling pens. So I said, sell me this pen. And then I had some people come up, they tried selling me the pen. They talked about the features about it, the way it writes, the texture, whatever the material is, right? So they talked about all the basic things. Now, what I did is we flipped the roles here. And then I took the pen and I said, hey, talk to me about your goals. What are you looking to do in life? Oh, that's awesome. I also did some of that. I really relate to that. Why do you want to do that? I started asking all these curiosity questions, and then I got their contact information at the end. I took a selfie with them. So that was my way of selling the pen. I didn't even bring up the pen, right? That's a way to look at this. That's a way to look at curiosity and say, okay, cool. When I go to these networking situations, what's my intent here? Am I looking to build a connection that I can help them out, and then maybe there's some fruit later on in life? Or is it more so just I'm looking to get a position, I'm looking to, just get something for myself, take, right? Are you just taking in all these relationships, or are you actually making these people better? How we said on the last slide, leave people better than you found them. Or what are you doing? How are you measuring this, right? So this is something that you guys need to think about. Because if you guys go to networking situations, you go at it from a curiosity mindset, you're going to receive a lot more positive emotional bank material than you do from taking, which only deposits into a negative bank. So if you take a lot out of life, that deposits in a negative bank, right? If we kind of look at this and we're building a relationship and we're asking somebody, or if we treat it as a bank account even, and we're making purchases and we know we're taking money out of it, take, right? It's going to go down. But if we give, if we store and save more money, or save more of these positive interactions, or make more positive interactions without expecting something in return, then that's going to make it into a positive bank. And then that's going to help us later on, because we're going to be able to withdraw from that at some point. So once you guys kind of look at that from that perspective, and that comes from being curious, asking great questions. Asking great questions is a skill. It's not something that's easy, and it's going to be developed through you actively listening and going through trial and error on your own, from asking questions initially, seeing if they're good questions, gauging the audience, gauging the person you're asking the question to, and their receptiveness of it. And if they seem amused by it, if they are like, wow, that's a really good question, or if they just answer the question really quick and move on, right? You're going to be able to learn that. Then you're going to be able to keep going through trial and error of asking great questions. So being curious is super important, guys. And I can't emphasize that enough. It's something that's going to change your guys' life if you apply that. I mean, you can apply this tomorrow, right? The last of the 5 C's is connection. So this is kind of tying the knot with everything, right? These are the 5 C's of networking that we're talking about here, but connection is the biggest thing. And by doing everything properly that we just talked about, it's going to make or break it, right? You need to have a connection with people. When you go into networking situations, you need to network with people. You need to build a connection. You need to have some tie in this, because if not, then they're not going to remember you. They're not going to care about you. And then that's when you become a number. And you might have felt like that before. I felt like that before, until I started going at it with a different intent. That's why connection means building rapport, making people feel seen and heard. Because, if you ask somebody a question and then they answer something and you don't acknowledge what they said before you move on to the next question, you're doing a disservice and you're burning that connection. So that's one of the biggest tips and tricks as well here as well. Making sure that you acknowledge what someone says before you move on to the next point. That's a huge benefit. That's a huge deal. So make sure you guys are doing that. And then make sure you stay in touch. Make sure you follow up. It's not just about one connection here, one contact, take a picture, cool, all right, we're good. It's about constantly following up with everybody, right? And then showing genuine interest. That's another big thing that a lot of people struggle with. We talked about that a little bit. It comes from the 5 C's. It comes from building character, curiosity, consistency, coachability. All that comes from the genuine interest, because when we focus on that stuff and we focus on this foundation we're building, then genuine interest comes because we're doing a great job with all this stuff. Then we're able to really come at it with a different intent because we understand this. And if you apply everything we just talked about, then you're going to really have a lot. So that's the biggest thing there. And you add value without expecting anything in return. That's just a life lesson in all opportunities. We talked about the positive and negative bank. That's where this comes in. That also feeds into the connection you have with one another. So make sure you guys are kind of taking that into account. And now we're going to do an exercise. I want to see some posting in the chat. Make sure you guys are with me. You guys are getting value out of this. Can I get a yes, 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 yes? Awesome, guys. Cool. So we're going to go into this. This is going to be an exercise. I want you guys to rank yourself, right? I want you guys to look at the 5 C's, everything we just talked about, and rank yourself out of 10 for these. Character, 1 through 10. Consistency, 1 through 10. Coachability, 1 through 10. Curiosity, 1 through 10. Connection, 1 through 10. I want you guys to look at this. Love the chat. Thank you guys. Stay active. This is the biggest thing. But look at this stuff and kind of really rank yourself and look at it, because this is where the growth is happening. I want to kind of look inside your guys' heads right now and inside your guys' life. Character. Okay, we just went over that. Being a better person, operating out of integrity, caring, really building a solid foundation. What area in character do we need to focus on? What area are we good in? And how do we rank ourselves? Are we a 7 out of 10? Are we a 2 out of 10? That's going to be up to you. Okay. Make sure you write this down and apply it, right? Consistency. How consistent are we? This should be an easy one. Did you do what you said you were going to do? Have you done what you said you're going to do as well? Did you break a promise to yourself? Did you not do something and you went to bed without completing a task and now you're upset at yourself? Are you at a 2 out of 10? Are you at a 7 out of 10? Where are we at here on the consistency scale? Okay. Coachability. When's the last time you talked to a mentor and you didn't take their advice and apply it immediately or within the next few days or whatever the case was time frame wise? Or are you doing everything super awesome, right? 1 out of 10. Where are we at? Curiosity. We went over that recently here, asking good questions. How are we doing in that area? What's that looking like for us? Okay, 1 through 10. Connection. How are our connections going? Do we follow up with people, or have we been to a career fair, or have we never followed up with anyone? Do we track everything? Do we really make sure we follow up with intent? Do we take notes about people and different things that we remember about them, or what do we do? Curiosity is definitely a weakness. Okay, awesome, right? So like that's the biggest thing for you to acknowledge some different things that you're working on here and that are the biggest things that are going to change your life, right? So take all these and then rank yourself out of 50. Okay. Now, use that. Rank yourselves each week. Add that to your overall task review. Something I use for tasking is Microsoft To Do. It's super awesome. It's super cool because you get to designate what the day is you want something to do. So if I said, okay, I'm adding a tank, or I'm adding a task in, rank myself out of the 5 C's. Okay. And then if we add that to our task weekly, and then, we write that in there, it's going to pop up each week that we want to do it. So if that's on a Friday, right? So that's what I would recommend you guys do now. Rank yourselves now. If you're at a 30 out of 50, totally cool. I would look at that being excited because we have a lot of work and a lot of improvement to do, right? That's just something that's awesome that we can look at this and kind of view it from a glasses half full perspective. But at the same time, that's so much growth that we have, right? And if we're constantly evolving, getting around higher caliber people and doing bigger and greater things, then this is going to reset a lot. Maybe if we're looking at it 30 out of 50 now, maybe in a month as we grow, we might go into 35, 40. Then we really look at it, then we say, wow, you know what? I actually have a lot more work to do than I thought. Then we drop ourselves down to 20. That means we're raising our standards for ourselves. But what I recommend for you guys, you have your ranking, you have your system here. Check this out each week. So that way you can measure it and improve each week. So that's one of the biggest things. Thank you for dropping the weaknesses in here. That's the biggest thing for you guys to improve on. Now that you've acknowledged it, take ownership over it, and implement one new thing to change that tomorrow. Now, we're going to get into module 3 here, how opportunity actually works. We still have a decent amount to cover here, guys, and then our guest speaker is going to be coming in about an hour, 15 minutes, so stay tuned for that. And there's going to be an opportunity to ask some questions as well. So it's going to be really cool. It's going to be afterwards, so stay tuned for that. Module 3, how opportunity actually works. So this is going to be a big deal here, guys, because I want to break down the mindset and just the strategy you guys are really taking to make opportunities work, okay? So the reality, we talked about some of this stuff and how the compound effect can take place and how we can really grow and develop and really make all this stuff happen, right? Now, the issue is that opportunity comes from visibility, familiarity, relationship building, being remembered, staying in the conversation, being top of mind, write all this stuff down, take a picture, whatever you guys need to do here. But this is the reality of it. Opportunities are not going to just fall in our lap, and they're not going to just come from going to school and going to clubs and doing everything that everyone else is doing. Because at the end of the day, we are competing with everyone, right? All these opportunities and all these things that we're looking to chase and achieve, they're not for everybody, right? So you have to make your own opportunity. Some ways that this can happen, and I'll kind of touch on a few areas here. Visibility. Is our LinkedIn profile up to date? If someone looks at us, are they going to be able to reach out and say, okay, cool, I have this open position for you, right? Like I get that all the time now, especially with the work that I do. People see what I work on, and then some people reach out to me asking me if I want to go change positions and things like that. So does your profile reflect an in-depth, accurate work review or work consolidation? So that way, if someone looks at you or someone's looking for some employees, that you pop up at the top of the list, or what is it, right? So visibility. And then how visible are you in public? How visible are you in class? How visible are you in these situations? You need to make yourself visible. Make yourself more visible by focusing on the 5 C's for sure, because then you become magnetic, right? We just touched on that. But, that's one of the biggest things too. Familiarity. When you talk with someone, how relatable are you? How much of a connection are you building off rip? How much are you just taking this by the bullhorns and just able to push the conversation and make people feel close together? That's a skill in itself, right? Relationship building. Opportunities are going to obviously come from relationships. That positive bank of energy I was just talking about here. As we deposit, something is going to come out at the other end. So that's something else as well. Being remembered. How do we be remembered? This is one of the biggest things with people going to career fairs and not being remembered. So how do we be remembered? I would be asking you guys' selves questions like this too. You guys need to be unique and go at it from a different perspective. I've shared this story before. This was actually me applying for a restaurant. I went to this restaurant, a super fancy restaurant, and they do group interviews. You went, they give you a paper application. They say, fill it out, turn it back in, and then wait. So I did that, waited. Everyone else was waiting, like 10, 20 other people, and everyone else was just waiting outside, waiting on their phones. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be remembered. I wanted to make this opportunity, right? I didn't want to just wait. So I held the door for every single person coming in, and one of them wound up being the manager's interviewing me. That's crazy, right? But once you start going at it from this perspective and operating in this reality, then you can see how this can be very, very easy to do, because not a lot of people focus on this stuff, guys. Like you guys here for webinar Monday night, Thanksgiving week. It's crazy that you guys are investing in personal development, because the world doesn't do this enough. So if you guys do this, you're going to just start magnetically attracting all this stuff into your life. Because again, if you take one thing out of today, we're going over a lot of stuff today and tomorrow. But if you guys take something out of today and apply it, that makes this stuff worth it. And that's that 1% better every day. But being remembered, that's a formula you guys can create. As you guys go through more situations, as you guys are involved with more things, it becomes a skill. That's why when you get your first position, you shouldn't stop doing all this stuff that we're talking about as a student, networking, going to events, doing different things like that, because all that stuff is going to make up for the next opportunity. And it's also a skill set, just like we were talking about it being a muscle. Being remembered and operating in reality and doing all these things are like building a muscle up. If we're not constantly building the muscle and staying sharp and staying active and staying strong, then we're going to lose the muscle, right? So I want you guys to think about that stuff too, because it's really important. Because if we don't focus on that, then it could go to the wayside. So super important, staying in the conversation. That's one of the biggest things too, guys. This is what I was talking about with acknowledging something before you respond to it. If you guys stay in the conversation, you guys are actively eye contact in the conversation. You guys are maybe taking notes if you want. You're actively listening. If someone else comes up from the right, you don't even realize them unless there's like a fire going on or something. But you guys are staying locked in with the person, because that just shows that you care. And that builds everything we're talking about. And that is how you become top of mind. This is how opportunities actually flow and actually work. So take something from this, guys. You guys are doing great. So awesome. Visibility. So that's something that we touched on, right? We talked about visibility, but visibility and truth just beats all this stuff, guys. I mean, we touched on that. You know, you can't just go to school. You can't just focus on GPA. You can't just focus on projects. You can't just focus on the basic things that all engineers or all other mentors or all other career services teach you. It doesn't matter if you're the most qualified student if you're not visible. If nobody knows you, it does not matter, right? You know, one of the biggest sayings is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, right? Well, that's the same thing for visibility here, right? If you have even the slightest bit of experience and everyone in the world knows you, you're going to get swooped up. Versus if you have all the experience and no one knows you, then you're not going to get swooped up. And that's what we want to do. We want to get someone to reach out to us to get engaged in this opportunity. So that's just some food for thought for you guys, right? Because networking is the game of staying visible. That's how this works. That's how it's worked for me. That's how I'm growing. That's how I'm networking. That's how I'm developing. You know, as you guys start going to different networking events, it's not going to be easy the first time, right? But if you guys go to one, you know, every 2 weeks, every month, every 2 months, it's going to start building up the skill. It's going to start building up this habit. It's going to start making you more comfortable with people. And when you're more comfortable with people and you adopt some things to break the ice and make things more casual and make things more easier, then you're being remembered and then you're being more visible. All these opportunities are going to start flooding into your lap. So I want to make sure we touch on that. So next one we're going to talk about is jabs. So this is a big thing. So this is going to be the lesson, and this is going to relate back to our positive bank that we're talking about. So this is a saying, jab, jab, punch. It's something that boxers use, right? Jabbing kind of opens them up. And then when the other person has their guard down, you go with a hook or something like a punch. This is the framework we should use in our lives as well. It's super important to do something like this because jabs for building relationships are doing this positive bank relationship building we're talking about. So jabs are a message, a thank you, a comment, you know, leaving them a LinkedIn recommendation, you know, just saying something nice, complimenting them, whatever the case is, right? Jab, jab, jab. And then after a few interactions, after a few jabs, typically I would probably rate the jabs maybe 2 to 5 or 2 to 7 times. So after we get a bunch of jabs in, then we go for the punch, where the punch is a call, a referral, an introduction, an interview request. Too many people, as we just talked about beforehand with the selling pens example, if you're selling the pen and we're just going straight to the punch, we're not going to sell the pen. Whereas if we do the jabs and then we do the punch later on after we built some rapport, after we built some of the jabs up and we built this positive bank up, then the punch can go, right? This positive bank. If we have +7 in here versus, you know, +1 and a punch, a big ask is like 5, right? Well, 1 to -4 is still negative. It's not going to work out too well. 7 minus 5 is 2, right? So you guys can start thinking about this stuff as a math formula, but it's also about intent. I don't want you guys to take what I'm saying and be manipulative. You know, the biggest thing between manipulation and empowerment is intent. So if you guys come at this with the right intent, you guys can change the world, right? Because all this stuff is to help you guys get opportunities, but it's also going to help everyone else out as well, right? A thank you, a compliment. You don't know what that does for a person. Maybe they just had a big day with a bunch of people and they had nothing nice to say to them, right? But you're this one person that breaks the ice a lot differently and changes their day and changes their whole week. And then they remember you for the whole week, and their whole week is better than, you know, everything else. There's only 52 weeks in a year. If you guys change 1 week for someone, that's a big part of their life, isn't it? So I want you guys to think about that too. For every interaction you have, every person you talk to, I mean, me here with you guys as well, right? I mean, that's what matters here. It's not about going crazy, doing a whole bunch of things. It's about just really changing one person's life at a time. And for you guys looking for opportunities, going to networking events, that's the intent you need to have. So that's jabs. This is an awesome saying. You guys really need to write this down. You guys can make this into a math formula and just almost go into every networking situation and talk about this. So I love talking about this. This is one of the biggest things. So next thing is courage. I want to talk about an example. So I listened to Joe Rogan's podcast before. I'm sure you guys know Joe Rogan. Put that in the chat if you know who Joe Rogan is. I'm sure you do. And then something that they talked about on here was actually Kevin Hart. So he was interviewing Kevin Hart. And Kevin Hart said that he went to some kind of white party or whatever they have, some fancy party, and he saw Jeff Bezos there. And then Kevin Hart said, "Oh man, it's Jeff Bezos. I need to go meet him." One of his buddies there had said, "Oh no, don't do that, Kev. Like, I mean, we shouldn't be doing that here. I mean, we can't be doing that because you need to just not like it's not the time and place." And then Kevin said, "Well, when is the time and place?" The guy was saying, "Okay, well, not now." And Kevin said, well, I mean, I'm going to go find out. I'm not going to let this opportunity pass by me. So he walks up to him, gives him a compliment, says he really respects what the man does. And, you know, like that's how you break the ice and that's how you be remembered. That's one jab, right? I don't know what Kevin Hart might want to do business wise with that stuff, but that's one jab. Keep doing these jabs, keep doing these jabs and seize the opportunity. The biggest thing for you guys, though, is you guys are going to have peers, you're going to have coworkers, you're going to have people, and these people are not going to view these situations like this, and they're going to just make you kind of conform to society and be like Kevin's friend there that says like, you know, okay, like now's not the time and place. Like, guys, this is your life. That one moment is a unique moment, whatever that is for you guys. One of our other clients was working at Best Buy before, and they, you know, they were looking for an internship. They were, you know, just started working with us, and we started going down the whole coaching process with them. And then as they started developing the 5 C's, as they started taking actions on different things that we focused on, as they started going at things with more intent, then someone came in, a CEO of a drone company, asked for a wire, and then our client had said, well, what do you need the wire for? And then the guy said, oh, well, you wouldn't understand. And then our client had said, well, actually, you know, I've been studying aerospace engineering. I'm working on a drone, X, Y, and Z. And then that resulted in an internship. Now, he wouldn't have been able to do that if he didn't have courage. So courage, guys, how do you manifest that? How do you make that apparent in your life? How do you do that? Fear is the biggest blocker in a lot of situations, because I'm sure you guys might have been in conferences before, networking situations, and it's tough, guys. It's tough to overcome that. But the second you do, it becomes easier. And then the next time you do that, it becomes even easier. Next time you do that, the rest is history. So I challenge you guys to go do that in whatever situation is upcoming and next for you guys. And, you know, courage is about reps. It's not like, it's not personality. It's just about going out and doing stuff. And that's where I'm saying, as you guys build networking skills, as you guys go to more events, it becomes easier. It's like a muscle. So you guys need to train this muscle, because if you don't, then you're going to lose it. And if you lose it, you're not going to get an opportunity as quick. So I want to make sure that we're focused on that, guys. So glad you guys are kind of locked in on that. So opportunity, this is going to be the next thing. So this is the FormAWin funnel. We're going to go over this more in depth tomorrow. So stay tuned for this. And this is really the goal. This is the FormAWin secret. This is everything. So guys, this is the biggest thing. We're going to touch on it briefly now, but then I'm going to do a full deep dive breakdown tomorrow, because this is something that you guys are going to be able to implement right away and probably see results within a month, honestly. Because, you know, honestly, in this season and this time of year, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and this whole holiday period, no matter what you celebrate or what you believe in, a lot of people are getting closer to their family. A lot of people are grateful. A lot of people are finishing the year. And this is the time of year where everyone is just happy, right? So you can add value to that happiness by actually reaching out and, you know, showing that you're thankful and showing that you're grateful. Just like we did at the beginning of the call here, you know, sending out 5 grateful texts. If you didn't do that yet, make sure you go do that. But opportunity. So this is the FormAWin opportunity funnel. Number 1 is visibility, familiarity, connection, conversation, action, recommendation, and then the opportunity comes. This is like that 7 points, jab, 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 and then we go for the punch. That's that opportunity. And we can create these things for ourselves, guys. Just going over everything we just talked about, all the notes you guys are taking, all the lessons you guys are applying, all this stuff is super real. All this stuff is super, it's just, you need to go out, apply this stuff and be consistent with it. Focus on the 5 C's, identify your gaps. And then once we become more visible, then we're more familiar. You know, whoever the recruiter is, interview person, that's kind of who we're referencing here. Then we build a connection with them. We're able to have multiple conversations with them. We take action, showing that we're coachable with them. Then we leave them a recommendation. Then we can ask for an opportunity. So that's just like a nutshell framework on our FormAWin opportunity funnel. So, I mean, this is just big, guys, right? So make sure you guys write this down. Feel free to take a screenshot, picture, whatever you guys want to do. But this is the biggest thing, FormAWin opportunity funnel. We're going to go in a deep dive tomorrow. But now we're going to go over the action for this module. So the action is to send 5 connections now. So no matter what it is, guys, I'm going to give you a moment to go do this. So I'm just going to give you guys probably like 90 seconds to go out, send 5 connections. They don't need to be fancy. They don't need to be crazy. You're going to go to LinkedIn or maybe Instagram even as well, whatever social media platform you want. LinkedIn is obviously preferred for us engineers, and that's where we build our brand. And we're going to be covering LinkedIn later on as well here. But take an action, send 5 connections to anyone that it should be. You know, engineers working at a company you want to work at. Maybe it's a professor. Maybe it's another student even, right? Maybe you guys in the chat here. You know, if you guys are part of the school community, go feel free to network with each other. And then just send 5 connections now, right? This is the biggest thing, because if you guys take action now, after everything we just learned, you're going to be able to craft your messages and do some different things differently. So I'm going to give you guys a moment on this. We're going to pause for just 2 seconds, and then we'll be back in about 60 seconds. All right, guys. I see lots of action in the chat. I love it. That's the biggest thing again for you guys. Just make sure that you go out and make these connections. So getting related to each other. I mean, you guys should definitely hop on a call with each other and everything. So I love that. Hopefully you guys sent your connections. If not, make sure you do so afterwards. And then again, feel free to just blast through it right now. I mean, like connections are super easy, right? You just go to LinkedIn, send a connection request, add a note, go through it. But this next one that we're going to cover, this next module, is LinkedIn domination. So let's get into it. LinkedIn is the next biggest thing again for you guys. You guys that are in the community, we talk about this a lot, where we talk about personal branding and building a brand. And we covered that a lot as well, right? Visibility, but actually going through and doing something specific, super, super important. So make sure that you guys go through and really just dominate LinkedIn. So we're going to teach you how to do that here. We're going to go over some specifics and different things you guys can do to make that happen. So profile, your LinkedIn is your digital handshake. Before anyone replies to you, they check your profile. So this is apparent in interviews. This is apparent in life. This is apparent in going to a career fair and then emailing someone afterwards, and then they pull up your name and check your LinkedIn. This is apparent in so many areas. So I want you guys to make sure you focus on this, right? And make sure that you guys take this to heart, because your LinkedIn is your digital handshake. And it's very apparent in today's world, and it's going to become even more apparent. It's not something that should be ignored. It's not something that should be taken lightly. It's something that it's okay, like this is my life, and how I'm showing my life is really important, because you're a leader, right? Back up with me for a second. Every time you guys go outside, every time you guys go to work, every time you guys show up for a call, you don't know whose life you're going to change, right? So if we look at this from the perspective of, hey, we're human and we're here to make a positive impact on the world, well, how does that happen? Outside of our engineering work, which specifically innovates the world, our personal life and our leadership skills and who we are as a person is a direct reflection of the different people that we motivate and inspire. So if we're going to work and we act a certain way, that's going to trigger some certain people to look at us a certain way, but also us changing their lives, right? We want to be the person that changes people's lives. So when we go to work and we pick up trash and someone sees that, cool, then they're motivated to go out and clean the world as well. Or if we go to work and we show up early, people are seeing that, then they're more motivated to show up early, whatever the case is, right? So now here, if we bring this up into LinkedIn branding and we talk about social media, that's the next biggest thing too, because like if you guys are doing big things in the world and you guys are being leaders, working on projects, doing all this stuff, your profile and your digital handshake should also reflect that. It's a whole ecosystem. You can't have one thing and not have the other. You can't have an awesome digital handshake and then be bad in real life, and you can't just be good in real life and not be visible. So that's the biggest thing with profile, guys. So let's go ahead. We'll keep going on here. Headline. So we're going to break this down now. So your headline sells your identity in 3 seconds. It should answer who you are, what you do, and what are you aiming for. So our guest speaker next, you guys are going to connect with her. We're going to do a Q&A afterwards as well. That's going to be inside the school community. I'll post a Zoom link as well for any of our clients. But the headline here is really important, and you guys should look up her headline. Her name is Asal, and it's a really big, awesome, giant headline, and that stuff matters. Some students, whatever you guys have there, that's going to get you recognized. That's going to get you guys on the market. So there's some examples here. These are some cool examples you guys can use, take, edit, change for yourselves, but it should be something like this, and then maybe even more in depth, because that's what's going to really get you guys noticed when an interviewer looks you up, or someone looks at your headline and they see exactly what you do and who you are and what's going on. That's where they can really just break it down and say, okay, cool, now I know and I have a feel for them. Then that makes them understand you too. That whole thing we were talking about earlier with familiarity and people kind of relating to you and feeling like they're getting closer to you, that starts here. That starts with this headline. Because that's the biggest thing when people look on social media and you guys go connect with people. If they can't answer these questions and they can't tell what you do, then it's really tough to look at it and then say, hey, well, I want to connect with this person, or maybe I don't want to connect with this person, right? But if you're an industry leader and you're portraying yourself accordingly, more people are going to want to connect with you. So that's just a good formula for you guys to use. You guys can feel free to screenshot this, but also, type in some suggestions you have in the chat, right? I mean, like, this stuff is super cool. So make sure you guys go out and apply this stuff. Next is your about section. So about is super important. It's not going to be your resume. It's going to go over some fundamentals. There's the formula there, right? So we'll read it out here. Who you are, what you're studying, what you worked on, what you're excited about, what you're open to. Those are just some things. It's a conversation starter, obviously, right? So you guys can go into a lot more detail. But again, think about this again as your digital handshake. So everything you guys make going into this LinkedIn profile should be real. It should be awesome. And your life is awesome. I want you guys to process that too, because sometimes, we go through the motions. We're just trying to get by. We're tired. We're trying to get the day in. We're just trying to make the day end. We're just trying to get over this stuff. And, at the same time, our life is awesome. And again, going back to this leadership skill and everything, it's really important for us to just focus on this formula and make the about section and just showcase, this is our life and this is why it's awesome. This is why we should be friends. Because then you're attracting, you're becoming magnetic. That's something we talked about earlier, right? I want you guys to take a screenshot of that, focus on that, think about that. So I love it. Brand. So this is still following up in terms of the digital handshake thing, but your brand is really important, guys, and it's something you need to build over time. It's not going to just happen right now. You guys could go back, look at some of your past experiences. If you've documented pictures, if you've documented different things, then that's really important for you guys to focus on and work on, right? So your picture, your banner, your tone, the clarity of your page, your consistency, what you post, all of these things matter. And we should start this today, tomorrow, and every single day for the rest of our life. It's not going to be just about going through the motions here, one post every month or so, which is still better than not doing any. But this is our brand. Again, this is our lives. This is what's going to attract people. Just how I said earlier, how people reach out to me asking about different positions and different opportunities. Like all that comes from building your brand. And as an engineer, and regardless of what you do, you should be building this up. Fortunately for us, not a lot of people focus on this, or some people do, only a handful. But again, those are the handful of people that are getting a lot of opportunities. So this is just like an easy two birds, one stone scenario, because we're already doing a lot of awesome stuff each week. Your work, if you can't talk about specifically what you work on in your internship, or you can't post something about your project or whatever the case is, you can still talk about it at a high level. You have to anyway for, your resume. So I would just transfer that and talk about it each week. So that way, when we're building our brand each week, we're posting something each week, we're improving our resume each week, because that resume should be a living document. And then if we're building our brand each week, then we're going to get more opportunities that attract to us. So that's the biggest thing, guys. It's just about choosing what kind of life you want to live, being consistent with it, and then showing up every day. Now, I'm not saying that there's going to be, pitfalls, or like I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Like there's always going to be pitfalls. The number one thing that's going to be consistent in our life is change, and how we respond to that change is what's most important. Do we react or do we respond? There's a huge difference. And building a personal brand is something that is super important that we should be consistent with, because it goes over those 5 C's we talked about, right? Character, consistency, curiosity, coachability, and connection. All of that stuff is reflected in our brand. And if we really take that to heart, we preach that, we teach that, and we show up for everybody and lead by example, that's when things start changing, right? So just want to go over that with you guys. Branding is super important. Some simple rules here as well. Smile in the photo, clean background, professional energy, banner, no buzzwords, no paragraphs of text, right? Like you guys want to just make this super easy and readable, and just for everybody to come attract and like, okay, cool, I want to know what's going on with this guy, right? As far as posting, I definitely encourage you guys to post about, personal things too. If you guys go out for golf with your team, or, some friends or something, feel free to post that. Don't make that everything though. Make that one, maybe every 10 or 7 posts, right? Once a week, right? That's a good metric for you guys to use, because that helps build your brand as well. It doesn't always have to be 100% professional, but that's professional if it's a nice photo, as long as it's not like a weird, drinks in the background photo or whatever the case is, right? We still want it to be professional, but it's showing that you're social. It's showing that you want to be part of a team and grow and develop. So super big, super important, guys. Next is going to be action here. We have another action for you guys. So I want you guys to update either your headline, your about me section, or whatever it is. And then I want you guys to go put completed in the chat when you do so. So I'm going to give you guys another few moments to go take action on this. I want you guys to go update some stuff now. If you guys change one word, add one emoji, update something in the about me section, that's the biggest thing. So yeah, never take a photo with the drink. Yes, exactly. Now, I want you guys to go take action on this. So I want you guys to take a moment, do that, and then drop it in the chat when you're going to go there, and you'll be done with it. And we'll return back in another 60 seconds. So you guys can see how this is not just a webinar. This is an intensive. I want you guys to change and do some things now. So I love that you guys are staying active and participated. Make sure you post in the chat. We'll be back in another 60 to 120 seconds. All right, guys, let's go on ahead and keep going. I'm loving all the actions that you guys are taking. It's super important and critical just to constantly improve here, right, guys? So this is again an intensive. This is something where we're really growing, developing, and making massive action now, right? By the time that you guys had sent those gratitude texts earlier on, I'm sure you guys are receiving some awesome feedback now, whether someone's saying thank you. And again, just realize how much positive impact that thing has. Because I'm sure some people aren't getting gratitude texts. Maybe they'll get them on Thanksgiving, but at the same time, that gratitude text is so important. And if you guys start doing that daily, weekly, just imagine the effect that you have around, like with all the people you have in your life. So I love all the action you guys are taking. It's super important. The connections, the updating your LinkedIn, all this stuff is completely revolutionary. So I love it. I love all that you guys are doing. So outreach and messaging. So now we're going to talk about this outreach and messaging. So this is following up on a little bit of what we talked about, but I want you guys to kind of take this to heart here. Okay. So outreach. This is not, or so this is the number one thing that you guys might overthink that might prevent you guys from taking action. Something that we touched on earlier about this was, fear in terms of being courageous or going out and networking, right? Because that's the biggest thing that you guys are going to have some issues with at some point. But if you guys really just stop overthinking it and just do it instead, it's better sometimes to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. So that's the number one thing that you guys can really focus on. So you guys just need some simple, clean messages that start the conversation. Tonight, I'm going to give you guys some exact messages that have gotten some students real relationships, real calls, and some awesome stuff. So guys, feel free to do that. And, it's really important that you guys take action on that. So I love it. Openers. So these are just some short things that you guys can do super easily. Make sure that you guys make them short, friendly, non-needy, and human. That's the biggest thing. Nowadays that everybody's using ChatGPT, sometimes that's all that you see from people. But if you guys start something out, just a one-liner or something super easy, and then in LinkedIn, you can follow up with a voice message. That's going to be super human, super awesome, and super easy to just really make it happen, right? So I love that aspect of it. And, these are just some examples you guys can use here, right? I would definitely highly suggest that you guys take action and make sure you apply that. So I love that you guys are doing that. This is some really cool advice here. Drop a 1 in the chat if you're getting value. And these are just some little simple things that you guys can apply, right? It might be easier when you guys make some more connections, you guys go navigate some situations, you get some feedback, you get some responses, then you're like, okay, well, how do I navigate these situations, right? Feel free to reach out to us for help. That's how we really operate. We make the most of some of these network situations, but at the same time, doing some quick openers like this and getting a script together for yourself and treating your career like a business is super important. So make sure you guys are doing that. Next thing is rapport, right? We already touched on this briefly, but once they accept the connection, don't immediately ask for help or going for that punch that we were talking about. You need to have some back and forth messaging with them, right? And again, these are some secrets that I haven't revealed before ever. So anyone that watches this, you guys are going to get some awesome, valuable feedback on how to actually network and make some of this stuff happen. So I want you guys to kind of take that to heart and really apply all this stuff. So some rapport messages examples are congrats on your role, right? How's the experience been so far? X, Y, and Z. So these are just some awesome examples that you guys can use. But this is just something that's really important that you guys build up. Because if you guys don't have this, then when you guys go ask for something, again, we're going to take some out of that bank account. We want to always stay positive in that bank account versus, going into that negative atmosphere. And the biggest thing here, guys, is that you're validating that person. You're giving them credibility. You're making them feel good. You're helping them out. And all that stuff goes such a long way. But even if it doesn't result in something, if we take enough of these stabs in the right way and with the right intent, something is going to stick at some point, right? So that's the basic stuff. But tactically, if we build rapport and we go through this strategically, then that's going to help us drastically. So just think about that, guys. It's super important. The next thing that we're going to cover here is going to be ask. So after we do these 2 to 3 rapport messages, I want you guys to ask for a call. I want you guys to say, hey, this has been a great conversation. I actually have some, information or some things that I have questions for you on. I'd love to hop on a call. I'm not sure what your availability is, but just let me know and I'll be happy to schedule something out. So that's super easy, right? You guys can put that in a typed out message. You guys can send a voice message, whatever works for you guys. So super easy, no pressure. And you already built some rapport instead of just asking for it immediately. So then it becomes easier for you guys to get that, right? So now if we think about this practically, 2 to 3 rapport messages, now our positive bank account's 3. And then if we look at this, okay, now we just asked, right? So now we're back at 0. So now we need to give some more things before we ask for some stuff, right? So I want you guys to just keep processing that. Next thing for you guys to do is a video. So now afterwards, after you guys hop on this call, you guys get some value from them. And remember, we're going to cover some things a lot more in depth tomorrow. But now that you send a video, this can be a 10 to 15-second video message. It's super powerful because not a lot of people do this. Not a lot of people follow up with mentors or references or engineers or recruiters. And it's not like, it's just not a very practical thing that people follow up with and make it personal. So this is just something super easy, right? I love this 10-15 second video is the most powerful networking tool. So you guys can make it super simple. And we're going to do a little exercise afterwards as well. You guys can send the live video, or you guys can make it into a YouTube video link and you guys can then send it to someone. If you guys are responding in an email, you guys can make your own YouTube video link, make it unlisted. So that way it's only people that are looking at it and have the link can see the video. So that way it's private, but it's still someone else can see it. And then you guys can share that with someone. If you guys do this in an email, perfect. If you guys are doing this outside of an email, that's fine as well, right? It's just important that you guys are sending a video because it's super personal and not a lot of people are doing it. No one else is thinking like this. No one else is taking action like this. So I just want to make sure you guys are doing that. Yes. So the voice messages are super important because they're more human and they show you real, right? Like you can't fake that. Like AI is taking over. AI is a big part of the industry, but at the same time, it's not going to replace this. It's not going to replace talking. It's not going to replace personal connection. And no matter where we're at, there's always going to be people involved. And if they're not, then it might be a scary time, but there's always going to be people involved in making decisions, pushing actions, and bringing people together. So the more personal you are, the more relatable you are, then it's going to just make the most of the situation. So what we're going to do here, guys, and I'm going to do this with you. If you guys sent some connections recently, or if it's from tonight, I want you guys to pick one person and you're going to send them a report message now. So this report message can be, just like we talked about, saying like, hey, it's super cool. I see what you're doing. I love everything you're working on. I really respect it. I just had some questions for you. Super awesome to connect. Then let them respond. They're going to be like, awesome. Thank you so much. X, Y, and Z. Right. And then we can go down the whole framework, but I want you guys to send some report messages. Maybe you've been meaning to follow up with someone, right? I want you guys to take some action on this now. Maybe you've been meaning to follow up with someone in email or from a career fair or on your LinkedIn profile or wherever the case is. I want you to send them a report message now. And all that means is that you guys are just sending them a quick message and just helping them out with something. So I want you guys to do that. We're going to take another moment and then we're going to pause for a second. So if you guys do more than one, that's going to be extra credit as well. So go on ahead, take some action, do that stuff now. All right, guys, we're gonna keep pushing forward here. We're wrapping up soon here, so we're gonna open this up for some Q&A in the chat, and then we're gonna be waiting for our guest speaker to come on shortly. So again, these are just some companies that we've gotten some students hired at. It's really a privilege and honor to kind of do what we do here because every decision and every person we help is a life change, and then they go into these companies and they lead by example. They do awesome and amazing things. So it's just a super honor and privilege to be able to help people get from point A to point B. So I'm really grateful for all you guys showing up, learning, and leading by example and growing. And this is only day one, so day two is packed with some awesome fun stuff as well. And these are some testimonials that we've gotten as well. So it's really awesome that you guys are just able to be part of this and learn and develop. And I hope you guys got some value out of this. These are some of the core values that we're going to leave up here. The FormAWin core values: relentless execution, extreme ownership, uncompromising integrity, adapt, overcome, dominate, the relentless standard, build, serve, impact, family, and team. I want you guys to drop down whichever one is your favorite in the chat. Would love to kind of hear some feedback from you guys. Whichever one is most important to you, let us know in the chat here. We'll give it a little bit to load up. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Adapt, overcome, dominate. Super cool. It's an awesome core value. Like all these core values that we have, we really wear them on our sleeves, and we just try to make sure that we just grow every day, and we just make sure that we just live by these because it's super important. Like all the things that we talked about is really critical for you guys to just acknowledge and realize, and it's just awesome. So I want you guys to just really take that to heart. So I'm glad that you guys have that kind of on your sleeves now. You guys are able to share some of these and really go on and reflect them. I would suggest that you guys just take these to heart and just remind yourself of these every day, including the lessons that we went over. So it's definitely great that you guys are able to take part of this. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a giveaway we're about to do. So in our school community, we're about to do a Q&A with Asal. She's an awesome person. And we're going to go ahead. We're going to do an awesome interview with her. It's going to be around 30 to 45 minutes. And then afterwards, we're going to go into our school community and do some Q&A with her. So it's going to be really awesome. And, just for showing up, guys, really appreciate you guys. As we said, there's going to be some awesome giveaways. So one of the giveaways that we have now is going to be into our school community. And drum roll, I'm going to put it in the chat of who won the free school community membership here. There it is. There it is. So you're going to receive access here. You're going to get an email, and you're going to be all set. So let me know. Feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. Just shoot me a message if you have any questions. But you should be all sorted, and you should be all inside the school community. You just won the giveaway for today, which is a free school community membership. So thank you for showing up. And we're going to do some other giveaways tomorrow as well. But this is going to be the last school one. So again, if you guys want to get inside the school community, great. But that's where we're going to have some more Q&A. We have lots of things that we do inside of there. But at least for this month and this week, we have some awesome guests coming in, such as Arnold Morales tomorrow, as well as Asal. So we're going to be really getting into it. So you guys are going to have lots of awesome things coming. So I want to make sure you guys are taking advantage of that. So if you guys have taken some notes, I want you guys to really just apply those notes that you have. And what we're going to do is we're going to go and make a post on LinkedIn. You guys are going to build your brand up, right? You guys are going to take some notes that you've had from, this session today so far. I want you guys to go make a post. Different things that you learned, different values that you've gotten. It doesn't have to be too crazy. The goal here is for you guys to build your brand. And then you guys are going to get inside of the school community as well. You guys are going to make a post of some value, some information that you've gotten out of there. And then we're going to be having our guest speaker come shortly. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to pause for a little bit, come back, and then I'll give you guys another warning. And we'll go ahead. We'll get started, guys. So this has been an awesome day one. It's been really cool talking with you guys. It's been a lot of information, a lot of value. So again, some of your homework right now, and I'll drop this in the chat as well, is to go make a LinkedIn post with some value that you've gotten, some different information, some different things you're going to be working on, whatever you want to share on LinkedIn to build your brand. And it's always important to talk about personal development on LinkedIn because that just shows you guys are growing, you guys are developing, and I love doing that. And everyone else is going to see that and learn and develop as well. And then for those inside the school community, you're going to go make a post in the school community, talking about some different lessons as well. It could be something similar. So those are your things, guys, here. This is awesome. This is our community. So glad to have helped you guys out for this day one. Stay tuned for another little bit, around 15 minutes for this Q&A we're about to do with an awesome person in the industry. And we're going to get back, guys. So stay tuned, stay here, stay locked and ready. Go do your homework. We'll talk in a few.
I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down. I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down. I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down.
FormAWin for over 4 months now.
Part of the FormAWin community for a couple months now.
I just got my first internship.
Just landed my first internship.
Biggest thing I want you guys to do is take one thing away from today and make sure you implement it, change your life.
100% directly resulted in me getting an internship offer.
Hello, welcome. Welcome.
Hello there, superstar. How
Let
are
me get
you?
a sound check. You hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear. Can you hear me?
I need to turn up my volume, maybe. We'll
Can you
work
hear
out a
me?
technical difficulty here. 2 seconds, everybody.
Can you hear me okay?
All right, mic check now. 1 2 1 2.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You're all set. All right, everybody, we're gonna get started again. Welcoming our awesome guest. I'm gonna let her introduce herself. I don't think I can do her any justice. She's been making some awesome moves this year. I mean, this was a no-brainer to have her come in here, share a little bit about her company, her experiences, and all the awesome things that she's doing. She's a rock star. She's doing some crazy, awesome moves, networking with CEOs and big-time players. So, without further ado, I'm gonna let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, Michael, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
You're perfect.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for having me on here. I appreciate the opportunity and I'm so happy to be back and see how you're doing.
1,000%. Yeah. I mean, why don't you just start off with telling us about your company, a little bit about your background, who you are. And then for everybody watching, I mean, we did an interview back in the day here. We'll be doing another one at some point soon. But this today is focused on networking. And, again, I'd love for you to share about some stuff you're doing. So go ahead.
Absolutely. I'm Vox Gibson. I'm the founder of Cyroot. Cyroot is an IT and cybersecurity company here in Las Vegas, where I do most of my business. So all the IT consultation projects that I manage come through Cyroot. But recently I started a Cyroot Academy, which is a nonprofit entity that launched in January. And for this one, we're very excited. We got a lot of work done this year. So it's been a very big year for us. And our mission is to provide education at no cost through scholarship programs to support our military, active duty, their spouses, veterans transitioning, and underserved communities. So this is what we've been working on this year as a new venture for Cyroot.
I love it, Vox. I love it. I mean, again, I see all the work and all the things that you're doing on LinkedIn. I admire it. I respect it. I'm sure a lot of other people do too. You just won an award recently, right?
Yes, about 3 weeks ago, we won Top Tech Award.
That's awesome. I mean, that's huge, guys. So I mean, like you're sitting here with an award winner, rock star. So definitely take some notes, everybody watching, and make sure you apply all the things that we talk about. Because again, that's the biggest thing. We already went over some awesome information, made some action steps, made some good things that we just developed in our LinkedIn branding and networking situation. But now we're gonna really pick the brains of a legend. So let's get into it. So my first question for you is, what was one of the first steps in networking that made a really big difference in your career? Whether that's early on or later on, or maybe you can touch on both of them, just whatever comes in the top of your head.
Yeah, networking is natural, but it's really not natural
Mhm.
for us nowadays. So if you think of how our ancestors met each other, people went out to village festivals in towns, right? And you met each other and you introduced themselves but then people built relationships, right? If you met someone new and you liked them, you thought they were cool, you'd invite them over to your house. Come over, have a tea, or come for lunch, or you get to meet their family, and that's how networks really grew in civilization. It became very challenging for us because it kind of became not natural that you're in business and you show up to, I don't know, some venue and it's just so awkward. People pretend to not be awkward, but it's awkward, really, to go shake hands, introduce yourself and who you are. And it's more challenging if you're a young person without experience, right? So if you just came out of college or you just don't have experience with networking, it's not an easy transition. So how I approach it personally, and I've gone to like hundreds of networking events. I go naturally, go grab a drink, and then, start talking to people, telling them about what I do and asking them questions. And what I found is people love to talk about themselves, right? So I do this 1 minute, 30 seconds exercise with my students. And now that I'm presenting a talk on this, I do this exercise as well, where I say, tell me a story, and I will listen for 60 seconds, right? But I don't say that. I don't say the 60-second part. I just ask a question, but in my head, I stay quiet for 60 seconds without any interruption to learn about them. And if they feel kind of awkward and they don't talk, I don't talk either. I just let them finish that particular story. And then I have an opportunity to ask questions. But I see a lot of people waste time in these networking events and they waste my time, right? Here's who I am, here's my business card, but you never hear from them, right? So if you reach out, if you build a rapport with someone, you want to establish a relationship. That's the whole idea of networking. There's no point of just knowing people. So I have like this box, like because I have like a book thing that has all business cards that is all filled up, and now this box collects all the business cards. But when I come home and I had already invested some time with 3 to 4 people through networking events, had some quality conversations, I reach out to them on LinkedIn. If they don't have LinkedIn, I send an email and say, "Hey, Michael, it was really nice meeting you last night. I enjoyed learning about your work. I'd love to continue learning about whatever you're doing, your program. So if you mentioned to me that you're managing a program or whatever, but that's an opportunity for me to connect and build that friendship and relationship with people. And I don't do it with somebody that, oh, I want to do business with them or I'd like to get a contract at their company. I feel like that's the wrong approach because when you run a company or you have the ability to buy stuff, either products or services, everybody wants to talk to you. So I want to talk to people who actually want build relationships because I know where to go find those products and services if I want to buy them, right? And treat people how I want to be treated, right? So I don't want a sales pitch. I don't do that to people, and I don't want them doing it to me. So just genuine interaction with people and reaching out and saying, "Let's grab a cup of coffee," or "I want to learn more about you." I think it's a mistake to spend a lot of time at networking event with 1 or 2 people that you never talk to them again. Basically, you wasted a whole evening with somebody you're never going to talk to again. So get in the habit of talking to people that you've never talked to before, you never met. Learn about who they are, what do they do, how can you help them, right? And is this a person you want to be friends with, right? Casual friendship. I'm not saying we gotta go out and watch movies this weekend, but establish that rapport with people you meet.
1,000%. I mean, all that stuff is super golden. Again, for everybody listening, watching, the recording, whatever it is. I mean, we kind of just broke down a lot right there, and I definitely have some questions for you to kind of deep dive a little bit deeper into that. I love the thing that you do with your students, the story. That's a great exercise, right? What are some typical things that you find out of that for maybe improvements or different areas of just improving their elevator pitch or their story pitch? What are some things there if we can touch on that?
Right. So if you are someone that's looking for a job or you're new in your career or you're between jobs, approach this as a potential employment. And it doesn't have to translate to a job offer in 2 weeks. It's a potential employment sometimes in the future. You might get lucky and get that job offer. Maybe in a year from now, you're going to get a job offer with this person. So present yourself in the best way possible. One of my really weird rules that are really just mine, don't show up to networking events with a smartwatch. It, I don't, smartwatches don't tell me anything about you. So wear a watch that reflects your personality. That's one of the things I look at. I look at the shoes. Are your shoes nice and clean? I don't know. Come from military background. How you represent yourself. How do you shake hands? Do you make eye contact? You don't get a second chance to make a first impression.
Mhm.
So how you show up is really important. I had a student asked me about this. He was going to a networking event. He was wearing a t-shirt and a hoodie and a backpack and saying, I'm going to this event. Do you have any tips and advice? I'm like, yeah, go home and change, right?
Yeah.
Because, all right, it's cool. You're a college student. That's how you dress, but also you're graduating and looking for a job. Do you look like someone that I would hire? Not how you're looking right now. So how you present yourself is really important. And these first, initial cues, shaking hands, making eye contact, lean forward, bring a resume, right? If it feels awkward to have a printout of resumes, have one in an email. Have it stored in an email and say, I'll send you my resume. I'd love to grab, some time with you to talk to you about my skills or how I could help you. I always offer help than, ask for help, right? So even when I was looking for a job, I asked for opportunities to volunteer. Do you have a project that I can help you with? I'm out of work right now. Is there anything that you're doing that I could learn from? Or I'm happy to mentor anyone within your company. I have some free time now. So always offer to give back first because 99% of people don't do that. And if they say it, 99% of them don't actually show up. That 1% really makes a huge difference for you in building those relationships.
I love it. And, to kind of just come back to the clothing thing, I mean, that's such a big thing too. And, I just went to an event this weekend and there's like a designer that they do clothes and they kind of help people with outfits and things. And one of the things that they said was so true. And, we always think about this probably, but don't really apply it into action. What they said was, well, if you feel good, then you're going to perform good. Right. So, I mean, that's the number one thing too, that a lot of students don't even think about, how you show up to these networking events. Are you portraying yourself as a business person? Are you portraying yourself as a professional? And all that stuff links directly, I mean, aside from the feeling good aspect of it as well, which is just something I wanted to bring up because I mean, it's super critical and super important because, I've been to some networking career fairs as well. I'm sure some students have. And, maybe if you think that you're professional by just throwing on kind of a raggedy collar shirt and, maybe some jeans, you're like, okay, well, that's better than shorts and a sweater, right? But still, I mean, you need to separate yourself, whatever you can do to make yourself more visible. And, some things that we talked about earlier on was visibility and making sure you're seen. And a lot of people aren't showing up in a really nice attire. There's a handful, right? So then that's just one layer of separating yourself. And then what you're talking about, going into this next thing about being remembered. So I mean, I love everything that you shared, and there's just so much golden and juice out of that. So I mean, I wish we had time to go through every little point because I mean, all that stuff is super awesome. Again, I hope everybody's getting value out of the chat. But something I want to talk to you about too is earlier on in your career, maybe we can go over an example of one time that you went out to a networking event, made a connection, whether that was super early, recently, whatever it was, just something that you did that kind of made yourself stand out and you remembered it. And an example that I shared earlier with everybody was when I went to go interview for a restaurant position. It was a group interview. It was super cool. But they had like an open interview where everyone just went at a certain time. So it was like 20 people. They gave you a piece of paper to fill out to go apply to. And then once you go apply to it, then they say, okay, cool, wait until you're called on. So everyone else went outside, they waited on their phones. And, everybody in the chat here and everybody kind of watching probably remembers this story where I said, well, I'm not going to just wait here. So I held the door for everybody, just everyone coming in. And one of them wound up being the person that interviewed me. So that's just crazy cool. So I don't know if you have a similar experience with anything or a unique experience, but floor is yours now.
Most people I work with now, I met them through networking events. And there's one thing I say, I don't know if people truly believe me or not. I have not applied for a job and got that job since I was in grad school, which was over 10 years ago. All the jobs, contracts I've held, even teaching positions, all came through either networking or LinkedIn, which also networking because I'm very active on LinkedIn. And now that I run a nonprofit as part of my business, a lot of the scholarship money we receive to fund our mission also come from LinkedIn and from networking. I don't make cold calls, right? I don't make cold calls to ask for jobs, to ask for contracts, to ask people's time for a demo. I don't do any of that. My goal is to go to one networking event a week, maximum of two, because more than that, then I'm burned out and I want to be at my best. So that's my goal. Minimum of one event a week. And when I go to an event, my goal is to meet 3 to 4 people that I haven't met and never talked to. And out of those 3 to 4 people, my goal is to have coffee or lunch with at least 2 of them over the following week or 10 days. And that's just very basic, but that's my system.
I love it. And I mean, it's a great system. I mean, a lot of people don't apply a system, right? And that's something that I like talking about because not a lot of people think about structuring it. And the way that you're structuring it is you're treating your networking like a business where you're kind of developing a metric and you see how that's paid off for you in the future, where, you know, you go to some coffee chats or you develop your 3 to 4 people and then you see what's going to be a good relationship out of it. And, you know, this is just for everybody watching to quantify it. But at the same time, your intent is awesome because you're just trying to make a positive difference, go talk to people and just have a great time. So like, I love that. My question for you on top of this, I mean, we have a lot more to run through, but what's your follow-up system like? What does that look like? Is that structured? Is that standard? What does that look like for you? Maybe that ranges on the type of individual, if they're a you know, higher up or lower. So maybe that changes, but why don't you talk on that a little bit?
So I treat everyone the same way. If I spend quality time talking with you, then you will receive either a LinkedIn connection with a thank you or an email. And I sometimes, like, if you look at my business cards, a lot of them have notes on the back. So if you said something to me that really stood out to me, I write it down. So if you said, you know, oh yeah, you know, we're expecting to have a baby. I would write that down, right? I want to remember that. If you said, yeah, you know, I hate my job, I'm looking for a job, I want to write that. If you say, I'm working on this new AI product, you know, I would write that because that's something stood out to me that I want to talk to you more about. Because again, it's about establishing their relationship. There's a difference between power and influence. Power comes from titles. And a lot of people chase titles like, wow, you're a C-suite level person. You're a CEO, CIO, CISO, C whatever. Immediately impressed, right? But the truth is, the most influential people don't have those titles. And you should focus on building your influence, not your power, because power is generated from influence. Influence is not always generated from power. For example, I worked on a federal side, military, and now public sector. And I can tell you that not everybody that holds a leadership position is influential. There are a lot of people that are not liked. And when they say it's all about who you know, it's absolutely not true. It's about who knows you and who likes you and respects you. And that comes from influence, right? Because I know a lot of people according to this box and according to my LinkedIn, but how many of those people truly know me, like me, and respect me? Those are the people that support my mission, that support me, that support my network. So you got to think of those relationships that you build with people as opportunities to build influence within your community. And that influence translates into power later on down the road.
I love it. Yeah, and like, I mean, that's just a whole big topic, right? And for everybody listening, again, this is a big foundation for FormAWin's belief, which everything you're talking about is planting seeds and, you know, just giving and putting positive into your, you know, bank, where the bank of relationships with people, and it's getting more positive, and that way you can harvest it later. But at the same time, you're giving so much value coming at it from a giver's mindset and just looking to grow and make yourself an influence in the community. And I love that. That's a great breakdown, right? If everybody just kind of stops everything right now, applies that, and that's the only thing you apply from now and the rest of the year, you're gonna already change your life. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I mean, there's still so much to kind of break down with that. I would love to know a little bit about what your follow-up process is, maybe after a coffee chat or so. right? So let's say you go to an event, you network with people, you have your targeted list, and then afterwards, you add it to your tracker, I would assume, and then you're making sure you're following up with people. Like, what does that look like long term for you?
So not all coffee connections and connection you make with people make sense either, right? So you have to choose from these relationships, who do you want to see again? So I'm very busy, right? So I work minimum of 60 hours a week. I work for a client. I run Thyroid Academy. I teach multiple classes. I'm in mentorship programs. So I have very little time to give. So I gotta be very selective who to give this time to. So my interaction with people help me determine how soon do I want to see this person again. And it's not because of any personal interest. Sometimes I meet people that are super cool and they're fun to be around and they have a lot to offer, good discussions. You see eye to eye with them, you talk to them about your mission, right? Like what you're doing right now. Like you and I love talking with you because you and I are on the same page a lot of times. I love the work that you're doing. I love that you take time to inspire students. You are someone that I want to support. So when you ask me to help, to step up, I clear my calendar and I show up for you, no questions asked. But there are other people that don't have these certain qualities where I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna waste time. My time is valuable. So you get to make those decisions the more you interact with people and you decide who do I want to invest my time with? So find people that you want to support their missions, like yours, right? And they are interested in what you're doing because that's a happy relationship. That's a relationship that helps you grow together where like you and I met a few months ago, and Thyroid Academy was just new. I was just launching that and I was just talking about it. Fast forward a few months. Now you saw I won multiple awards. Thyroid Academy took off. Things are going really well. That's a cool thing for us to talk about and seeing your program and how much you've accomplished. Now, professionally, we're growing together. So you're someone that I want to check in with at least, every couple of months, like, hey, how things are going. If you are local to me, I would love to grab lunch or coffee with you, go for a walk at least once a quarter. So that's how I maintain the relationships with people that I build those relationships with. You have to invest in certain relationships to grow and not just collect those relationships. It doesn't matter that you know 200 people. It's how many of those do you actually know and how many of those really know you. That's what makes a difference for me.
I love it. And, thank you so much for the kind words. I have nothing but the utmost respect for you. And, we're building an awesome relationship together as well here. You're growing your company, we're growing FormAWin, and, the sky's the limit. And guys, that's the biggest thing when you're networking with people, other students or other people you're interviewing as well. Everything you just touched on, but if you're around people that have big dreams and big goals, then you guys can go accomplish the world together and live out your fulfillment and your purpose and your dreams. And then you attract the kind of energy and that magnetic people around you that also want the same things. Then you're surrounded yourself by people that want the same things as well. So then you're going to be the next one to grow and develop. And that's what it's about. If you choose the opposite and you surround yourself with people that don't want the same thing, just like you're saying, to, pick and choose who's going to really just be a benefit or if they're going to take energy out of your life. We don't have time for that. We don't have time for people to drain us. And, time is a valuable resource. Again, it's, one of the things that we don't get back. So how we choose that is super important. So for everybody listening, right, all those are super critical lessons. And, something else to rephrase this as well. I once heard this from a VP at Lockheed. And, one thing that they said about mentoring people and different things like that and moving up in the company is that you need to find your champion. Just like you said, outside of the business, outside of the company, you need to find someone inside the company if you're looking to grow in there to be your champion and take you along for the roads as well, because then they're going to pass the torch at some point. So I just love everything you're sharing. Again, I'm sure everybody's getting a lot of value. These types of interviews with these high level individuals, everyone, you need to really take notes, rewatch it 20 times, and keep picking something out every week. I mean, that's really what's going to make the most of this. So you guys are learning a lot about networking. Fox, thank you so much for all the information you're giving again. We still have some more things I want to go over. I want to talk about maybe in some different career fair settings or maybe networking settings or different areas that you see students interact and operate. We already talked a lot about some mistakes such as clothing, different ways that they portray themselves, their intent. So, I mean, there's some things there, but is there another thing where, you've seen someone that wants a position, an internship, a job or something, and like you've seen them interact and you've seen them interact well and that land to something versus you seeing someone that wants the same thing that doesn't interact well? Have you seen any distinctions that wind up with some different results?
Yes, absolutely. I've had interns in my company. Some don't show up well, right? And I learned over time. Some people show up super casual, they show up late, uh, you know, hair is a mess, dog is barking in the background, all of it, right? Drives me nuts. And I used to make the excuse for them that, oh, they're just students, they don't have the experience, but really is not acceptable. Like, if you want that job, if you want that professional position, you need to act as such. But I also had people that show up really good and give really good first impression, but then they think, oh, well, I got it now, right? Then they're late, their work is late. There's, lack of work ethic that is very difficult to teach. So I've had my own pain points working with people that lack experience. And I'm somebody that want to work with people, right? Like, I want to work with you. I want to train you. I want to mentor you. I want you to be better than me. But you gotta want it, right? If I'm gonna sit there and try to hold you accountable every single day to showing up on time or being a professional or being professional with your emails, responding to your emails every day, or I have students reach out to me, ask for, oh, can I, get some time with you? I'd love to talk about this internship. And I would email them and I would spend time like actually constructing the email, making it nice, and put a link to my website and where to apply. And I don't hear for like 2 weeks. And then they respond with like, "Oh yeah, hey, yeah, I just remember." And I'm like, "Okay, you don't waste my time, right? Don't do that because that reflects very poorly on you. If you send me an email and you can't respond right away or like within 24 hours or even maybe that week, right? Then I can't trust that you're gonna put your best foot forward." So these little things that are really manageable are very easy to learn that people are just not doing. And for me, it and other employers are telling you, like, that's becoming a differentiator. Be professional, show up, follow up. I can't hold people accountable anymore. This is something that I've decided on. I was all about holding people accountable, and I found out that accountability equals integrity. Because if you have integrity to do your work and do it on time and do it well, then I don't need to hold you accountable. You already know what to do. So if you don't, and I have to hustle asking for that information to hold you accountable for it, then to me you're lacking that, and that's difficult to work with.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. We always talk about integrity here at FormAWin, but that's just like the basics of humanity and what we should expect from people looking to just live. Because if we're not living to make the world a better place and grow and develop, then we're just taking away from it. Again, that bank account, but at the same time, that's the bare minimum that I expect from people to show up with integrity and to, do those things. But at the same time, again, everyone watching, apparently that's the differentiator, right? And I talk about that all the time about how much that is a differentiator because a lot of people just don't do that stuff and they don't know how to do it either, which is very weird and complexing, kind of looking at the school system. And we're like, well, how is this a problem? Why is this a problem? Aren't they seeing, leaders by example in their classes and, different peers and mentors, but it's still a problem. Of course, there's a handful of people that are awesome and great, but at the same time, did they really get that from learning around what's typical, or did they just get that maybe from their family or someone else that took the time and taught them? Right. So that's the biggest thing. So I'm glad that you brought that up because, that's the biggest thing. Integrity is accountability. If you have integrity, you don't need accountability. That is huge, and I love that. We're gonna get that on a t-shirt at some point. But
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah, you can't hold people accountable. A lot of leadership courses you go to, they teach you that is to hold people accountable. But I say, no, that's waste of time. Like, you don't need to hold me accountable. Do you think my clients have to follow up? Do you think the person I report to on my project has to ask me where is a deliverable? Like, do you think anyone would say, why didn't you show up to work? Or why did you show up in your jammies? Or why are you looking like crap? Like, no, like I'm a professional, so I'm gonna show up looking my best on time unless it's an emergency out of hand, right? So I do my work the best I can to earn people's respect. I don't need anyone to follow up with me. So I have that same expectations of people, and I've been told that it's very high expectations.
well, that's just the different makers in the world having those high expectations. So again, I love that. Again, the utmost respect. So that just aligns with everyone, or just everything that you're about. So with that said, some more questions here. So bringing it back to students going out to maybe their first networking event, what's one way that they can approach the conversation without being awkward or without being weird? What's the one way that students can approach a conversation to maybe a recruiter or an engineer or whoever's in their field?
hmm Again, people love to talk about themselves, so ask them questions, right? If you're someone that has a lot of experience or doesn't have a lot of experience, that recruiter is tired, has been sitting down for hours. They probably burned out, right? They're burned out from people.
Hmm.
The easiest people to impress are those who deal with the public day in and day out, and they get disappointed dealing with people. Those are the easiest people to impress because all you have to do is be polite, be professional, shake hands. I can't tell you, I go to events. People don't shake hands anymore. Okay?
Yeah.
People don't make eye contact. So if you look good, shake hands, have a watch that's not a smartwatch. And I'm telling you, you should try this out.
Awesome. I'm good. I'm good. We're
Right? Um, have business cards. This is another thing I told my students at the business school. And they were like, well, we don't have business card. I am unemployed. I'm just a student. Okay, have a business card say that you're a student, right? And have on the business card what you're good at. Summarize, make my job easier. Tell me, if you're an IT student, IT is pretty big. So tell me, what is it you're good at? Are you a web developer? Are you a database developer? Are you a cloud engineer? What are you? Put that on the back of your business card. Have your email address. It you can print out 250 of those for 20 bucks. You can't tell me you don't have 20 bucks. I'm pretty sure you have 20 bucks. So it doesn't take much for you to do that. Have a QR code on your business card. You can go to ChatGPT, copy paste your LinkedIn and say, turn this into a QR code. Take that QR code, put it on a business card on Vistaprint.
Yep.
Boom.
Yep.
Now, when you go to events, I mean, think about how many students do you meet at these events that one, have a business card, and two, have a QR code to their LinkedIn or
Yep.
have a LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yep.
all of this stuff is so simple, but it makes a world of difference to that recruiter because 99% of people are not doing it. And that's a differentiator. So be polite, hand your card, and ask that recruiter, how are you doing? How is the job going? How is this event going? Have you met any interesting people? Let them talk. Time that 60-second in your head and let them talk about themselves and who they are and build that rapport with them. versus a student that walks in and goes, "Oh, I'm not a student, I'm graduating, I don't know, maybe they have a resume. Here's my resume that doesn't have any experience on it. Now it's gonna just another piece of paper is gonna go in the trash, and the recruiter's gonna say, okay, yeah, go on our website, abc.com, and apply for a job, and yeah, I'll make sure I'll be on the lookout for you." And then you're gonna go out and be all depressed and be like, no one calls me. I applied to 150 jobs. No one's looking up my application because we are a relationship driven century right now. That's how it is. Like this whole thing of applying to jobs, filling out applications, there are massive amount of applications are coming my way. I'm a small company. I needed an admin, right? I
Mhm.
received so many applications. I thought I was being rude for not responding to people. There's so many people that just hit click and
Yeah.
apply even there they did not read the job post. So
Yeah.
we're just burned out by the amount of communication we receive. So do these little things. They would really help you out
Yeah,
and
and I
you
mean,
stand
I'll
out.
definitely echo that last part. While I was at Siemens Energy, like I was doing some of the hiring and stuff as part of Indeed, and I saw all the resumes come in, and I, everything that you're saying is so accurate. How just everybody just clicks and applies. You have some people that, I mean, that like the position we were hiring for was just engineering specific, and then some people weren't doing anything related to engineering at all, and didn't even have a resume that could compute to any skills that would be relevant. So yeah, it's very interesting how this all works. So I love that you're bringing up the fact that, number one, you didn't, and I haven't either, where, you kind of apply to positions and then, you keep doing it, doing it, doing it, doing it, and then you get a position. No, you make these positions happen for yourself by being an awesome person, living at a high standard, going, putting yourself out there and separating yourself from everybody. So I love that you share that value, and that's kind of who you are. And that's why you're just doing all these great things, doing all these great awards. So again, like I love all that and all the things that you're teaching the world and helping everyone out here. And I'm definitely grateful for you showing up here. I'm sure everybody's getting a lot of value, right? If you guys are getting value, put that in the chat so that way, when we can see, because I mean she's doing awesome stuff here. So, I have a few more questions for you and we'll wrap up here. But what's, if you're looking at a student, aside from all the advice that we've given now, kind of ending off, well, what are some, final words of encouragement, final things for them to consider as they're going to events, networking, but more so for their career too, right? If there's like something on fire inside of you right now that you want to just go preach to some people and some students watching, this is the time that they can go change their lives. So whatever you got for us.
It's much easier than you think because most people now are stressed, anxious, right? And they just don't know what to do. And I see that. I've graduated over 800 students. I've seen it over and over and over again. So these little tips we're giving you are really simple, and that can help you. And I want you to go apply this to a networking event. I want you to go order business cards. I want you to go have a nice outfit. Now, you don't, if you say, well, I'm on a budget, there are so many places. You could go to Goodwill and get a really nice dress down, button down shirt and pair of slacks. And for women, it's easy. I mean, I buy my dresses on Amazon. They run about 25 to $35, right? It's not that hard to look good. It's very easy. We're overcomplicating things, I feel. So if you do these little things, get your business card, get your QR code, get your LinkedIn together, order a good outfit, pick an event, show up, shake hands, look people in the eyes, ask them questions. And here's another little thing I do that's a secret. I like to walk with people, especially busy people. So if you're super busy, let's say you're in my building and I work in a government center, I have a lot of people. But if I want to really get to know you and it's difficult to get on your calendar, I will ask you to go for a walk. Maybe it's just from your office to the cafeteria. If it's a really nice day out, but here's the thing, Michael, people never say no to a walk for some reason. You would think people say no, but whenever you say, hey, you want to walk you want to walk down the hall and get lunch, or do you want to walk around? And you could do that in networking events as well. So if it gets a little awkward, just say, hey, you want to walk with me to the bar? Let's get a drink. Or do you want to walk over to that table and check it out? And there's psychology behind this. When you're walking, you're not looking at the person next to you. Your mood changes because you're looking forward. When you're in a position where I'm looking at you right now, and if we were in person or virtual, it's a little defensive of a stance, right? Like, like I'm waiting for you to say something, you're waiting for me to say something. Now, we're back and forth. Our brains are wired to expect what's coming next. If we're walking, we're not looking at each other, so naturally we'll open up. And I've learned so much about people and build relationships that way. Because as soon as you start walking, you're not talking to me about your projects anymore. Now you're talking to me about Thanksgiving and whether the turkey is going to be fried or smoked, or, who's coming over, and we're having a natural human being conversation outside of business. And that helps me build that relationship. So that's a small exercise I do with people. And it's called Walk with a Thinker. I learned it through the Society of Information Management. They send me for executive leadership training. And that was one of the exercises we've done, is to walk with a thinker. And I tried it with one person, loved it. It was amazing results. And now I do it as often as I can. Even short walks, right? It doesn't have to be we're going to walk a few miles, but just changing that trajectory and walking with somebody has power in how it moves your relationship forward.
I love it. That was incredible, guys. That was another awesome secret that was just shared. I think we're going to end it here. So, Vox, thank you so much for coming. Again, you're doing such awesome, great things. I know you're having a bright future. The future looks bright. We're going to continue to do some awesome partnerships. I'm definitely planning to come out and see you at some point. So there's going to be some awesome things coming, guys. So if you got value, definitely like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me, and best of luck.
Now, what we're going to do is we're going to transition into school, guys, just for a little bit. So in our school community, everyone, you should be in there. If not, I'll drop a link to come join. I think everybody in the chat here has it, but you guys are going to have the chance to come ask some questions for 10 to 15 minutes. So it's going to be the same Zoom link here. Feel free to come in, guys, and we will see you soon. And then just so you can see here, amazing advice, literally changing lives. Really grateful for the information. So you're about to talk to some of these students here. So awesome, guys. We'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you guys for coming.